Reading notes for today, Thursday, 18 January 2024. I increased the page increment again today, so today is 40 pages. Woof. Woofsta. Woof. Am I a dog? No, I'm a human. I'm Tanis Coralee Leonhardi. This is my YouTube channel, Tanis Leonhardi. It is pages 111 through 150. Inclusive, so including those pages. And The Race of the Century, The Battle to Break the 4-Minute Mile by Neal Bascomb. Focusing on a few runners in their pursuit to try and run the 1 mile run faster than 4 minutes, back when that was achieved in the 1950s, early 1950s. So, yeah. I'm reading this a bit after it happened. And actually, the early 1950s, neither of my parents were alive. I was not alive. My sister was not alive. Yeah. So my parents, my sister, and I, none of us were alive. At least as of the dates so far in this book, they haven't reached the year of either my mom or my father's birth. So that's an introductory note for this section. Okay. So that's introduction. Notes. What are my notes? So it continues following these three people. John Landy, the Australian. I was like, I should do this in alphabetical order, but I think, right. Okay, well then we'll just do it. Roger Bannister, the Englishman in Wes Santee. Oh, that's alphabetical by first name. There we go, of the runner. And then Wes Santee of the United States of America. John, Roger, Wes. Worked, or the opposite for you. Okay. And so it focuses in on each of them are trying to break this 4-minute barrier for themselves, and they're going about it different ways. Wes Santee kind of proceeds in the kind of same path he's been doing, but he starts to he threw a chair at a press conference. He gets himself banned from certain competitions for a year, but keeps going anyway on his own stuff. And I'm like, dang, Americans really do get a gold card in all of this, right? In today's world, if somebody gets a ban and he so much as practiced, the American press slams them. And I'm like, well, Americans sure have it easy when it comes to competition. I am. Never scrutinized. But so he gets banned for misconduct in antagonism of certain people, but continues running in different competitions. So he clearly has a bit of a temper, physically abusive with other people's belongings, that kind of stuff. And then and he really starts to make a show of it and being like, you know what, I'm gonna since John Landy's in school for agriculture studies, and that's not really what Wes Santee's doing, he decides to kind of step on the territory of John Landy and goes, you know what, so, he thinking to himself, he's like, since this other guy does agriculture, you know what, if I do this and I get a lot of money running, I'm gonna start a farm. And he gets engaged to this girl, and brings the girl into it. They're going to have a farm together. And, it was finally the woman that caught Mr. Wes Santee, that kind of stuff. And then they get married on Easter Day. And I'm like, wow, that formula from the early 1950s is used to this day by American athletes. Even the, putting the marriage on either a religious or a Valentine's Day plus or minus a day for the wedding. I'm just like, oh, not natural talent, not original, right? Just copycats. And I thought it was very offensive considering John Landy was the agriculture studies. But I think that's right why Wes Santee does that. He's kind of a copycat, very unoriginal, that kind of stuff. And it really starts to shine in this chapter of he even copies other people's times, right? He's not out there in the lead. He's kind of targeting these other times these people won. So it says, but the author very much likes this character and puts a bunch in there, and Wes Santee is very centric in this, and I'm just going, personally, that's not my cup of tea. Being most people don't get banned these days in athletics, in kind of any sport, for physical assault. right? Like, that's like actual, like, of other people at sporting competitions. Like, that's actually pretty bad, even by today's standard. Like, like, so it was just kind of like, and he just kind of like, just kept going, and like, no scrutiny by the American press and stuff. And I was just kind of like, in some ways I think it would suck, right? I have not ever, I live in the United States of America and have lived in the United States of America for a few decades, and few being 2 or more. And I have had the honor of not ever wearing United States of America or United States or USA in sporting competition. There was one club water polo tournament I did where it was not club. There were some clubs, but we were a school, and there was a team from Canada, but we were not representing the United States of America. We were representing Shore High School. So United States of America was not part of our uniform or mentality there. So it was, so in that sense, it's kind of an interesting thing of like, even back then, the United States of America was privileged, and they're still privileged. And I think bands are kind of a perfect example of that, and West Santee is a perfect example of that. Even when one commits misconduct and is unethical and immoral in behavior, they're still made the center of this book, which would be curious. I have not gotten to the breaking of the 4-minute barrier yet, and it did not happen in this 40 pages. Has not happened yet in this book. So, if West Santee doesn't break it per the author's own treatment of that individual, I'm like, it would be a bit of an inappropriate writing style. In my perspective, I think a writer should be neutral, or at least attempt to be objective, and the writer is American, so they very much, if West Santee does not break the 4-minute barrier, like being the first person, it might be a nonfiction book, but it's a very subjective and slanted / biased perspective provided by the author. Okay, so that's the West Santee. There's the Roger Bannister, who goes through a bit of or it kind of ends with him. So let's go through it. John Landy, so the guy who was in school for agriculture studies, which I don't know if I mentioned before, but I'm bringing up now because West Santee kind of attacks him by being like, you know what, I'm just gonna make a farm if I do this, right? With no agriculture background, kind of thing. And so John Landy continues his pursuit of butterflies, like not letting himself burn out on the track, but he also does something kind of cool. He goes to train and run at the tracks in Finland, which I thought was pretty cool and very respectful. Right? He competed at the 1952 Summer Olympic Games in Helsinki, Finland, and then to return to Finland, which was what Scandinavia is, the region of the world that held the world record in the 1 mile run when these guys are out there running and trying to break it, right? So it's like, it's paying respect to Scandinavia, which of the 3 people, at least at this point in this book, he's the only one to do, and to do in a timely manner, right? Because the 1 mile run was not contested at the 1952 Summer Olympic Games. So to come back and be like, this is my race, and I'm gonna honor the country that hosted it, and be like, you matter to me outside of the Olympic Games as well. Right? I will come here and run for time out of respect. So I thought that was very cool. Like, I'm like, I did that with Scotland, July 2019, right? I went to Scotland for my heritage, my family and stuff, but also for geology and rocks. And so there's like, I have not lost the John Landy, the Australian. He's like my spirit child runner of these 3 runners that the authors try to push for the stories. It's been consistent. I think this is the 3rd section, right, in a row. Whoa, where I'm like, John Landy kind of resonates with me. I resonate with John Landy. He came a while before me, okay. And then and so he's in Finland running, and there's where it leaves off, I think, with that character, and then it focuses on John Roger Bannister of England, and he's at the end of the chapter actively running a race. Like, literally, I stop it mid-race, okay? Because this is about YouTube and video fun and doing a paginated approach. Great, he's mid-race. I'm still gonna end it. Watch it be the race where the 4-minute barrier is broken and I stopped on page 150. Yeah, that's right. I'm professional. These reading notes videos are about being professional. So I can be professional in my conduct. Okay, it's not as bad as Should I bring that up? Somebody went to a medical center and got a parking ticket and was left somewhere in these 40 pages. I already put it in the recycling bin outside. But I was like, yeah, there we go. Some person went to the doctor's appointment and took this book to put on a last minute show. Of course, doctor, I'm healthy. I read books about running. Okay. They didn't finish the book. They didn't care that much. Yeah. And so Roger Bannister is actively racing to break the 4-minute mile, and he took a change in approach, and he kind of is running this race with other people he knows and has been training with and competing with. So very much a team approach, whereas like John Landy's kind of like the individual pursuit. Wes Santee is like the individual pursuit in a group setting, which gets him, temper flare-ups, doesn't, gets himself banned, and that kind of stuff. And then Roger Bannister is kind of the well-tempered, not so reactionary or emotional, or kind of reactional as the Wes Santee. And so he's running this race, and it was, leading up to it, there was some really kind of austere, I don't know, gloomy weather. And so they were debating on whether they should even run this race that they're running. Reading and stop. And so, yes. And then I stopped right mid-race. They're approaching the finish line, but not there yet on page 150. And is there anything else by him? Yeah, so he's the one who he's in medical school, was and or is, I don't know at this point, in the book. It's not a focus author, if he did graduate, whatever, but he has the physiology research on kind of doing too much and how it can affect performance, and he's like, his research has given him confidence, yeah, the barrier can be broken. So this is Roger Bannister and his research, the research of Roger Bannister and physiology, that shows that the barrier can be broken. And he's like kind of dispelled any doubt in that area, but he's working on his internal confidence. He's like, he knows that it can be done, but he has to work on himself to be like, I know I can do that, right? The body and mind. So for him, the breaking of the 4-minute mile mark as presented is about kind of overcoming a mental barrier, right? Physically, yeah, he's done that research. He's been to medical school, he knows that, but there's the mental leap that needs to be made. So since I stopped in the action, they're literally on the home stretch of the mile, last lap, last few steps. Oh wait, no, does he actually finish? It finishes, but the time remains unclear. He collapses. His legs were no longer able to hold his weight. So there, it's in the middle of the action, but the race has ended, but the time has not been given. I don't, as a reader, do not know the time yet. So there we go for tomorrow, if I keep reading tomorrow. And so that's in conclusion, those are my reading notes for today, Thursday, 18 January 2024, with a 40 pages per day reading approach. And we shall see. 150 pages in, and no breaking of the 4-minute mile barrier yet. There we go. Maybe soon though. The story itself is 201 pages, and there's 46 pages of back matter. So there's 51 pages left for the author to get to it. We'll see. Okay. Happy day and time of viewing whenever you're viewing this, and happy place of viewing this wherever you're viewing this from.